Hey, y'all, I'm Shane Sams, the host of the Membership Masters podcast. I'm a self-employed, location-independent online entrepreneur, and I make my entire living with membership websites. I started this podcast to introduce you to some of the greatest entrepreneurs, authors, and influencers on the planet. Real mentors and experts that you can learn from so you can take your online business and your entrepreneurship game to the next level. My guest today is the author of Disrupt You, and his new book is called Future Proofing You, best-selling author Jay Samit. A friend of mine introduced me to Jay, and he is one of the most fascinating people that I've had the pleasure of interviewing here on the podcast. He's an entrepreneur of many talents. He has helped raise hundreds of millions of dollars for companies you know, like LinkedIn, eBay, and even Sony. His new book, Future Proofing You, is all about getting you ready for all of the changes in society. Look, guys, if 2020 didn't teach you anything, if the pandemic didn't teach you anything, let it teach you that change is a part of life, and it's coming fast at all of us. Technology is radically changing everything that we all do to make a living. And I've been telling you this for years. If you're not taking control of your destiny, if you're not creating opportunities in your life, if you're not out there building wealth in a job or a career that helps you learn and grow every single day, you may look up pretty soon and be left behind. Now, I know that change can be a scary thing, but that's what me and Jay are going to talk about today. We're going to talk about how you can embrace fear and actually prioritize how you respond to fears and use that energy to create opportunity and build wealth in your own life. We're going to talk about how you can create what Jay calls a zombie idea, an idea for an online business or any kind of business that's so good, nobody can kill it. And Jay is going to tell us how to create a better future for our family and control our destiny so that we can live the best life possible. Jay is a fascinating guy. He has advised everybody from presidents to popes to Bill Gates himself, and he's going to give us a free hour of mentorship today on the show. I'm so excited to bring you this interview today, but before we get started, I've got one question. Are you ready to become a membership master today? All right, let's go. Welcome to the Membership Masters podcast, brought to you by membershipmasters.com. This is the podcast where we teach you how to get and keep more members every single month. I've helped thousands of people start, build, and grow memberships, and I interview some of the biggest membership owners anywhere online. My goal is to help you build $1 million membership of your own. Brick by brick, let's do it together. Come on. 3, 2, 1. Jay Samit, welcome to the program, man. Thanks for being here.
Hey, thanks for having me. Super excited.
I am pumped to talk to you, one, about the book that we know and love, but also about your new book going out there. But I wanted to jump in to Disrupt You first and introduce everybody to that book, and then we'll talk about the new book. But tell everybody about Disrupt You and why you originally wrote that book in the first place.
So I'm no different than everybody hearing this conversation. I grew up believing you get good grades in school, you get out of college, and you live happily ever after. And I got out, and there was a recession, and there was no jobs. And I didn't set out to be an entrepreneur. I didn't understand how the world worked. But I had 2 sons when I was very young, and I wanted them to have a good life. And that was all the motivation I need to put up with everything that then happens. So, make a long story short, I started companies that you now know as billion-dollar companies that people use all the time. I've run multinational, Fortune 500 companies. So I've sat in the empty room, I've seen the big site, and I realized that there's a pattern. Dozens of friends became billionaires with a B, which is insane. I mean, I wouldn't know what a millionaire was growing up. And every 48 hours, there's a new self-made billionaire. So I don't know what you did this weekend, but you're a slacker. So right. What are people doing? And so, running another company or trying to do something, I'm not about that anymore. I'm trying to pay it forward. I want there to be a strong middle class. We need more entrepreneurs. So one of the ways I was paying it forward was teaching this at the college level. And I had best students did $150 million while they're students. So you can teach it. And so I wrote Disrupt You. And the big surprise about that book. So everybody thinks of changing the world, but nobody thinks of changing themselves. And I walk you through that. If you could change that annoying voice in your head that tells you can't do it, it was put there by parents and teachers that didn't want you to fail and have the pain. Well, guess what? You can't achieve without failing. A baby doesn't wake up and say, I'm going to walk across the room. It stumbles, then it gets up. It stumbles again, and that's what your career is going to be. It's like a video game. You're cruising along, you hit this obstacle that kills you. Eventually, you hammer past it, and guess what? There's another one, and that's what it's about. So I break it down for people. It has been the most rewarding thing in my life writing Disrupt You, because when you're a CEO, let me tell you what your inbox is. I hate you. We're suing you. There's this problem. You're the chief firefighter. When I wrote a book like this that basically holds up a mirror to people's own souls so they can do what they didn't know that they could do, I get what I call love letters. I get emails from all over the world. I've heard from readers in 140 countries. Wow. I don't say that to brag. I just say, like, we're so connected. It's amazing. And the book, Disrupt You, is coming out this year in Urdu, Icelandic, Polish, and Italian. I mean, it just keeps on coming out in more languages. But occasionally, I get an email from somebody who says, this is motivational, but I could never do it.
That's good for you, but not for me, kind of emails, right?
Yeah, and I'm like, how am I missing this? What am I? How did I lose somebody? You don't write books and do this to make money. This is not what it's about. I'm trying to help people, because if I had a book like this, I wouldn't have the scars on my back and the gray hair, and you could enjoy life younger and earlier. So I decided to put my reputation on the line. I said, here's how I could prove it. If I could find somebody that everybody could say, I'm at least on equal footing with this person, if not better, and he can do it, then maybe I can do it. So my future-proofing you experiment, I took an immigrant with no social network. It was couch surfing at people's houses, so basically homeless, no entrepreneurial background, family or any of that, no capital to speak of, grew up on welfare, parents on welfare. And I mentored him one day a week for a year. I gave him no capital. I didn't open my Rolodex. I didn't give him any contacts. And I didn't tell him what to start. He had to start a business to take money. And wreck the ending, spoiler alert, he became a millionaire in 11 months. So
that's insane, man. That's crazy.
I broke it down to what I call the 12 truths. You follow these 12 truths, you will have the same results. I'm not saying this is a get rich quick thing. This isn't an overnight thing. The young man's name was Vin Clancy. Vin worked harder for 1 year than most people were willing to, so he can live the rest of his life in a manner most people aren't accustomed to. And the reason he can do that is he's future-proof. He knows that any time the economy can change, a pandemic can happen, but he has the tools and skills to be able to adapt.
Yeah, man. I love that analogy of the good enough life that everybody sells us when we're growing up. Like, it's just good enough where you're not going to fall into despair, but you're never going to actually make anything either. That was kind of the good enough life that I fell into in my 20s.
Worse
man.
than that is they were giving you the 1950s life is what they're still telling people.
Right? I know. I mean, it doesn't make any sense.
So post-war America, one parent worked, the other didn't have to. The typical house price in the 1950s in the US was 2 years' salary. So you don't have a mortgage or any debt. You could afford to send your kids to college, and then everybody retired to a pension.
Yeah.
That doesn't exist. And if you think your job is secure, there are no secure jobs. If the pandemic didn't teach you that, then turn off this podcast, because it isn't security that robs ambition. It's the illusion of security that robs ambition.
Ooh, okay.
So what you really have to realize is, whether by choice or circumstance, every career gets disrupted. I've spent 5 years preaching this all over the world. Post-pandemic, don't have to say that so much, okay?
Right.
Any business can get hit. Everything can happen. We're living in a world of constant change at a pace that people can't adapt. By the way, what you learned in school won't carry you through life. What you got you to the corner office won't carry you to stay in the corner office. So Disrupt You really broke down how to do it and whatever. And Future Proof, I just took the action steps. And both of my books, by the way, have free workbooks. So, a lot of times you read a chapter, and then you get to the next chapter and what you just learned goes out your ear. So if you go to my website, I don't sell anything. It's jaysamit.com, my name. You can download either of the workbooks so that you can work on your life plan.
Sure.
Again, I don't sell masterminds. I don't sell seminars. You can't even buy a t-shirt with my face on it. Who'd want that? I'm not selling anything. I'm literally just trying to pay back what I've learned.
Yeah, man. There's a lot of great lessons in Disrupt You. Like, and one of the themes is definitely like everything's going to change. Like there's going to be a new obstacle spring up. I had a buddy probably about a month ago, and it was hilarious because he was saying I've retired. I've got my team in place. I've got everything in place and everything's good. And there was about a 30-day period where he was rolling. I mean, he had delegated, he was leading from the top down. I mean, just doing it right. And then like 2 people quit. And it just totally messed everything up because this obstacle like jumped up in front of him. And I know that change in our world, like I'm in all online business. It changes. It seems like every 2 months, Facebook changes, Apple changes, something else changes. And it's hilarious because you always hear like the keys to success in business and entrepreneurship in the online world. And one of ours has always been, like everybody says this, niche down, plant your flag, be known for something. But like in your book, you really warn us about falling in love with your identity and falling in love with this great idea that's rolling like right now. That's a little contrarian from what most people say. So why do you say that?
I've got a couple contrarian things. So yeah, in Disrupt You, one of the things that people are surprised, especially when I talk to, 1,000 people audiences or whatever, they said the idea that you have for your business, I don't even have to know, but I can tell you already, your idea sucks. And people are like shocked. I thought you're Mr. Positive. Here's the thing. Ideas are usually an obvious starting off point, but it's not till you start working on them and talking to customers and getting deeper into it that you find out what you're going to find out anyway. So if you can iterate and find out why your idea sucks before you start spending money, you're going to learn those lessons. But if you can do it before you spend the money, guess what? Then when you finally get to what I call a zombie idea, the idea that can't be killed, it's easier to raise money. It's easier to be successful. And it is the only way to go about doing it.
Mm.
Here's another place where I'm contrarian. There are a lot of success stories of like an Instagram that has no business model, and suddenly sells for billions of dollars. So there's lots of people that are in love with their idea, but they don't know how it's going to make money. Okay. If you're doing something that you don't know how it makes money and you're trying to raise money, that's called a charity in my mind. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
That's not a business. And I'm not saying there aren't exceptions, right? But you need to know your business model going in. You need to know your exit going in. You need to know all these things. But my most contrarian thing in future-proofing you, and we talk about all the gurus out there that sell hype and whatever, I hate with the passion the people that go, fear's not real, or they have some crazy acronym for fear or whatever. Embracing and harnessing fear is one of my 12 truths. Fear is real. You cannot fake it. Here's the reason that you're here. Way back, your ancestor that was in the cave, when he saw that saber-toothed tiger, he ran, and that's the only reason you're alive today. The guy next to him that didn't, he became saber-toothed tiger lunch and has no descendants, okay? So the oldest part of our brain has this fight or flight response. So you're going into a business meeting with somebody, the first thing in a nanosecond that any movement does is this guy going to hurt me, want to eat me, kill me, They're not engaging in rational thought. Oh, this is a good opportunity. Oh, I'm leaning in. So if you accept that, here's the 2 ways to then deal with it. The first one is, I accept that you as an entrepreneur have the fear of, I'm going to be embarrassed. I'm going to lose money. I'm going to lose other people's money. I'm going to lose my money. I'm going to lose my job. All those things, real fears. But Shane, if you were walking down the street thinking about those fears, all right, and an 18-wheeler loses its brakes, it's coming down the hill right at you, what are you thinking about?
Not dying by the 18-wheeler.
Jumping out of the way of the thing. Right. You don't want to die. Yeah. So you can prioritize fear. So here's what you say when you're thinking about being an entrepreneur, there's real fears. Okay, I'm not going to start the business. I want to save this job that I hate. They pay me just enough to not quit, but not enough to care. I can't live a lifestyle. I'm drowning in debt. I'm paying everything. And I'm trading a day of my life, a week of life, a month of my life, a year of my life. You wake up one day and you said, fear of dying. You've now given up your whole life for what? Something of zero value. You wasted the most precious thing you're ever going to have. So if that's the driving fear, makes those other ones go away. Now, here's the secret sauce. If you'll accept that I'm right, and I go through the 3 fears that everybody has, that person across the table that you're trying to sell, trying to recruit, trying to do whatever, they have the same fears. So if you learn how to communicate in a way to leverage those fears and harness those fears, you'll always win. And this isn't the mafia tactic of, buy this thing or I'm going to beat you up. When I was young, I had a meeting set up that was life-changing with the CEO of Pepsi. I studied everything. I knew everything. I'm going in, man. I'm going to kill this thing. This will change my little startup's life. But to the guy across the table, the CEO of Pepsi, this is the only thing between him and going to lunch, right? Why does he care? So I started off real early saying, thank you so much for, having a meeting today, because tomorrow I'm going to be in Atlanta. Why is he going to Atlanta? That's the headquarters of Coca-Cola. Wait. So now if Coke does this and I don't do it, and the board finds out, I'm no longer CEO. I could lose my job. My fear response is engaged.
Yeah.
And I've done this again and again. And, it's so obvious to me, but yet most people don't teach this because let's face it, a lot of the so-called gurus out there,
they're selling comfort, bro. That's what they're selling. They're saying, hey man, you're going to get there and hit cruise control and be comfortable. And and they don't want to sell the fear, because then you may not jump into their hype program. It's going to be like, setting them up for life and to set it and forget it, passive income mentality. That's what they're selling out there, man.
How many people that are selling these things online have sat in an empty room and created companies that sell for hundreds of millions and billions? Reid Hoffman, who wrote the foreword to Disrupt You, I worked with Reid to launch LinkedIn.
Yeah.
I created the auction that later became eBay. I took over a failed startup and 18 months later sold it for 200 million. I know how to do these things.
And you've probably been in those positions of feeling afraid. Like one thing that I learned something, because I was a school teacher, bro. I had a government job. So I was on the railroad track, and then we left and we became online business owners. And I started the first couple of years watching these peaks and valleys and these plateaus. And I realized, I was afraid, almost paralyzed of everything that could go wrong in the business, and I have to go back to my real job and all this stuff. But when you said the words prioritizing fear, I just want to highlight that for everybody. Like, I realized that one thing that we started prioritizing actually was not, we're going to lose everything. It was like, well, wait a minute. We need to prioritize, or we need to be afraid of getting complacent and comfortable, because that's when the dips were happening. So we have we kind of reinvent, I guess, our identity, maybe every 2 years or so, or maybe we'll raise our prices. Maybe we'll add a new tier to what we sell, or just something that shakes it up. And listen, about 3 months ago, dude, I raised my prices. It was the biggest price increase ever, but we wanted to change kind of the whole model a little bit. And I realized that like February, I said, I don't think this avatar matches the new thing anymore. So my list became really counterproductive. But dude, man, that fear kicked in. I got scared. I'm like, I'm not going down, quietly into the night. I got to fix this. I got to go. And it was weird when you said prioritizing fear. I was like, we took action that tried to pivot or change to cause us to not be complacent, to cause us not fall into those, same old fears, man. And that's a great terminology of prioritizing fears, man.
And in future-proofing you, and I got her permission, I included an email that I'd gotten from a reader of Disrupt You. And the short version was she was middle-aged, had lost all her money on her business idea, and she was committing suicide. And she called her grown daughter to say goodbye. And maybe it was a reach of help subconsciously. But she was shocked by what her daughter did. Her daughter laughed at her, not in a mean way, you're going to kill yourself because you lost money. That's the dumbest thing ever. And the daughter gave her mom my book, and the mom was writing to tell me now she has a second business and it's successful. You're going to have failure. There's no way around it. No one sat down and made it to the 10th level of the video game. They hit that obstacle and hammered it. That's just life. Bill
Bowser
Gates
gets you. He always gets you once or twice before you get to move past Bowser, right?
We're showing our age because that's the go-to.
That's right, man. 86, something like that. I don't know.
But, I worked with, the Bill Gateses and the Steve Jobs and all these people before they were household name. Bill Gates' first company went belly up. It was a great idea. Doesn't mean that it's going to be the right time and place. Henry Ford's first company gone. Walt Disney's first company gone. It goes on. As a guy who's raised hundreds of millions of dollars for startups and worked with VCs for years, VCs would rather invest in someone who's had a failure on somebody else's dime than somebody that's the first time at the helm.
Oh, yeah.
So you're going to have that failure. Here's one thing that wasn't in Disrupt You that was a huge oversight. And it's obviously one of the 12 truths in future-proofing you. If our world is changing in this dynamic, there isn't time to get all the skills that you're going to need. So truth number 8 in the book is don't fly solo. You're going to need mentors. You're going to need a series of mentors over your career. You know, Oprah Winfrey had Barbara Walters. You know, Zuckerberg had Steve Jobs. Even Mother Teresa had a mentor who she met on a bus bench that changed her life. So all of these things are important. And when I ran music companies, I was part of that myth of the self-made man, self-made woman. You had, you know, I remember being at the old Wembley Stadium in London, 100,000 fans screaming, one artist on the stage all alone, singing from their heart to that person. And you go, God, this guy made it on his own. He's a superstar rocker. What you're not seeing is the dozens of songwriters, producers, musicians, managers, agents, tour people, da 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 da. So there is no one that made it to $1 billion all on their own, right? Sir Isaac Newton, most would argue the greatest scientific mind of all time, said the only reason he achieved what he did was because he's standing on the shoulders of giants. So I teach you how to use LinkedIn to find the right mentors at the right time. Now, this isn't, which I get tons of them, you probably get them too, get tons of email, will you be my mentor?
Right.
That's like walking into a bar and going up to a woman and go, hey, will you have my baby? It doesn't work that way.
That's a great analogy.
Right?
Yep.
But you can start a dialogue with the right kind of people, respond to their articles, get to know them back and forth without ever using the M word and have a life-changing mentor. And here's the reason why people don't believe in mentors and why I was late to the party on the concept. We're taught that business is a zero-sum game. It's like poker. There's only so much money on the table. Either you have it, Shane, or I have it. So in 4th grade, we were taught, Jay buys a banana for $1, I sell it to you for $2, and that's how you make money.
Right.
The only way I make money is by taking your money. Not true. Here's the way those billionaires that are coming all the time, and self-made millionaires, of which there are tens of millions now. Hey, Shane, I'm starting a new company. I'll sell you 10% for $10,000. You say yes. What do I now have? I have 10,000 cash and 90,000 in stock that I can buy things with, merge things with, hire things, do everything. That's how Jeff Bezos could lose money year after year after year after year with Amazon and come out the other end of it as the richest man in the world. Entrepreneurs actually create value from thin air. Entrepreneurs don't sell things, they solve things. You know, you solve a problem. No one ever woke up and said, I want to buy a 1/4-inch drill bit. What they wanted was a 1/4-inch hole.
Right.
Right. And I hate when parents go to kids, what do you want to be when you grow up? Horrible question. The real question should be, from any age, what problem do you want to solve? Because you're always going to see problems and injustice. And those obstacles in your life are the opportunities in disguise. That's where you're going to make your money.
And the bigger the problem, what I have found through our journey, because, you know, I look back, sometimes we'll just review everything we've accomplished. And there's never a moment where somebody else didn't help us get to the next level, whether it was a partnership or a mentor or even like a mastermind group. Somehow we worked with other people to solve bigger and bigger problems and achieve more and more success. And those relationships, I keep coming back to it every time, like multiple podcasts recently. It's like those are the things that keep propelling us forward. And mentorships, like sometimes you can't access the mentor you want, but you can access their books, you can access trainings or their TED Talks or whatever. Like you can get access to these things. And I love the Mother Teresa quote, because my favorite quote, every time I speak, I use this quote. A reporter asked Mother Teresa, oh, you're Mother Teresa. Look at you. Do you really think you can change the world? And Mother Teresa laughed at him and said, no, I cannot change the world alone, but I can pick up my stone and cast it out upon the waters and cause many ripples. And I think about that every time when I'm beating my head against my desk trying to solve a problem all by myself, because I'm the super genius around here. And I'm like, why don't I just go ask somebody how to do this? I need to pick up my rock, man.
Don't fly solo. So if you believe that we're not competing over this limited pile of money, now you can understand why people want to help you, right? They want to share what they've learned. They want to have validation that their time was well spent on this planet. And by the way, if you want to talk what real success is happiness. And the easiest way to achieve that is by helping others. I end future proofing you really talking about how capitalism is broken right now. And I'm an ardent capitalist. I'm not, some tree hugging, not believing in business. But you can't have endless growth on a finite planet.
Right.
The laws of physics, right? So sustainable capitalism is a huge growth opportunity. So you can get ahead of it. And those companies that aren't doing it, regulations are going to come in and force them out of business. And just take Walmart, huge retailer. Their biggest single line item is employees. Their second is energy consumption. So they dove in not for making the ecologically right choice, for the bottom line choice, got rid of all the fluorescent lights, went to LEDs, whatever, save $100 million a year straight to the bottom line of profits. But then they realized, oh, you know what's good about doing something sustainable? Let's take all the knowledge that we've learned and share it openly with any company.
Oh, yeah.
Because people want to have shared values. Anybody can design a shoe and you like buying your shoe. But when Tom's Shoe tells you for every pair you buy, someone that's never owned a pair of shoes will get a pair of shoes, how does that make you feel about your purchase? How does that make you feel about that company? If you want to recruit the best employees in the world, today they're looking for companies that have a purpose and share a value. The purpose of life is to live a life of purpose. So what better purpose than solving any problem? And as you said, the bigger the problem, the MBA speak for that is TAM, total addressable market. That's more people that are going to buy the solution.
Yeah, for sure.
When I would teach this stuff in Disrupt You at the college level, there'd always be some kid that says, I'm going to make a business to deliver food to the dorms. Legitimate business, but there's 200 people in the dorms and you could build that same business, Uber Eats, for the planet.
Yeah.
Same amount of effort. You want the bigger addressable market. And you want to find something that you're passionate about, because there's only two things that you need to succeed: insight and perseverance. Everything else can be hired. So you persevered through your journey to get to where you are. But I'm sure if I grilled you on it, you turn that perseverance into passion because you're doing it for a purpose other than just counting zeros.
Yes.
Right?
1,000%. I mean, our entire mission, I always tell people our business came from a Sunday school class because somebody else asked us what we were doing. Kind of like they asked Walmart, how'd you save $100 million? And then we realized, oh, shoot, she had a big problem. She wanted to stay home and homeschool her kids and not go to her job. We helped solve that problem. Could we solve this for other people? And then we started solving it for other people. And then we were like, hey, let's sell all the other companies because this is awesome. I mean, every time someone sells me, I launched a membership and to my people raising backyard chickens and got 100 members. Boom. That guy just became and stayed self-employed. Boom. The next person. Boom. That's right. What we're doing it for now, is to help families change their future. And
you're causing those ripples.
Yeah, man. And it's way more fulfilling to be able to know that you've solved a problem for somebody and know that, hey, their life got better just because you were here. And that's irrelevant compared to the money, So
Tom Bilyeu, who I'm sure you're a fan of too, he wrote the foreword to Future Proofing You. And Tom was part of a successful software company. They're making money, but they're just making money. There was no purpose. And he came from a family that had some morbidly obese people in it. And he was looking at protein bars, and there were 1,600 protein bars on the market, but they were all just made with corn syrup. They were basically candy bars being marketed as health food
with some protein shoved in the bottom of it, a couple nuts or something, right?
Yeah, that's not helping people. So he started Quest Nutrition with some guys, and a couple of years later, they sell for $1 billion, right? So it's about solving a problem, and it's about, one of the other truths, filling a void. I may seem successful, but I'll tell you something. On any day, there is somebody smarter than me, better connected than me, richer than me, just better looking, just plain old better than me. I hate that dude, okay? So why would I want to compete with him?
Yeah.
If you're doing something that nobody else is doing, by definition, you're the best in the world at what you're doing. And you can fight to hold on to that turf that you've created for as long as possible. But that's where the opportunities are, filling a void. So this young man that came to me, he was of the generation, I know about social media. I want to do social media for people. Yeah, there's probably 40 million other people doing that. So what I said to him, I said, go look in the news, look at in social media feeds. what's something new that people are talking about? And you're going to be the best in the world at doing social media for that.
Mm.
And the second you get your first client, even if it's for free, you now have what business people call a case study. And you can show what you did to everybody else in that field. And now you actually are the best in the world at that. So the same client, the same amount of work that he was doing in social media that people were paying him $200 a month for, by 3 months in, clients were paying him $30,000 a month to do the same work.
Holy smokes. Yeah. Just because he found that void in the marketplace that he could fill uniquely, basically.
Because here's the thing with focus. Okay. If you can focus on a timely need that's massive, people will throw money at it because there's a deadline, right? You know, you're trying to close the mortgage on your house, and, you know, it will only close if you get X amount of dollars, and one lender will give you that money, but he's charging you 2% higher interest. That's why they get that 2% higher interest, because you don't have a choice.
Yeah.
So he went after something that was very timely, jumped in there, knocked it out of the park. So you still have to do the work. Knocked it out of the park for that first client, and everybody else wanted what that first client had as results. Now, the first client was the first guy in a space, so obviously he has amazing results being the first, but next thing you know, and so by the time he gets through this journey, I worked him like he was a Navy SEAL, course, no dating, no going to movies, 7 days a week for a year. So by month 11, he's on the verge of burnout. He's like a marathon runner. And what got him through it was he knew when he finished the year, he was taking a year off. He's going to travel the world, do whatever, but he could do that because he knew he was future-proof. He knew he could start anytime again and hit the ground running from anywhere.
Yeah.
And if the pandemic taught us anything, you don't have to live in a high rent big city. You don't even have to live in a first world country. You can now create a virtual company, and you're not limited to hiring the best people within 10 miles. You can hire the best people in the world. And I have a list in Future Proofing You of 22 software tools that are basically free, so you can run your entire thing.
And you can get your customers from everywhere in the world. That's what that's what we figured out. Like when we started this, we're like, holy, I'm not just fighting the chicken guy that's selling chicken across the street. I can sell my chicken recipe to everybody on the planet, right? And you're not just confined by these geographic boundaries that we were basically raised to think we always had anymore.
There's a story in Future Proofing You, a teeny little company in Scandinavia made a little handheld vacuum cleaner that was really good. Just a little, clean your
what we would call a dustbuster from back in the day, back in the 80s.
Yeah, even smaller than that. Okay. And for whatever reason, in the way the internet works and the strange planet we're on, somebody writes this glowing review for it in Korea. And suddenly this little company has taken over the Korean market. I mean,
that's amazing.
If you would have told me when I was writing Disrupt You that I'd be the #1 book in Vietnam or Australia, I'm going like, I didn't even know what these people's problems were. That wasn't what I was imagining. But what I learned from this experience is we're all the same. We all want a better life for our families. We all want, and our schools have taught us to conform to work in a factory. Just enough reading, just enough math. Don't think on your own, standardize this. And those factory jobs don't exist. Over the next 5 years, half of all jobs in the US will disappear. So you can either wait to be roadkill, or you can make your plan. So back to what I said earlier, disruption isn't about what happens to you. It's about how you respond. So the same year that wiped out the middle class in the US, mom and pop businesses really got hurt during the pandemic. The bottom 140 million Americans are fighting over 1%. That's all that they own, 1%. The 150 wealthiest Americans during the pandemic doubled their net worth, not doubled what they made it in a year. They doubled their whole lifetime worth because they think about obstacles as opportunities.
Yeah, man.
So let's share the knowledge, share the wealth, and have a better, more stable middle class.
Yeah, there's a great quote in Marcus Aurelius' Meditations. It says you're on the way, the path, and then there's an obstacle, but then the obstacle becomes the way. And so many people just stop at the obstacle, but the obstacle is actually like pushing you past. I remember distinctly when schools shut down, me and a group of my friends, one, we were blessed because we had been on the internet for 5 or 6 years. We were using Zoom before anybody knew about it, right? All that good stuff. And we had a meeting and we said, all right, this is what we are going to do. We're prepared for this because we had thought so far into the future. And as we saw what was happening on the news, this weird thing, like we're really plugged into the online entrepreneurship community. We just kept seeing the online world, the people that were prepared, right, that had created opportunity in the past, that were, I think, you talk about controlling your destiny in the new book, like pursuing that control of your destiny. At first, I felt scared, but then I felt under control. Like I actually felt like, hey, we get to dictate what happens to our business, to our people, to our life. And we started hiring people. It was crazy. Like the whole world's falling apart. My dad's like, you just hired 2 new people? I'm like, yeah, man, we got it. I'm not going quietly into the night. We got to figure this out. And like that mentality, man, if you don't have that now, what are you going to do when it's automated trucks driving and all the truck drivers go out of business? Like, you have to think about that future pacing your wealth and your.
I was the independent vice chairman of Deloitte. Okay. I can tell you that accounting is all going to be software.
Oh yeah.
90% of lawyers is going to be software. Middle management is going to be software. So it's not just the blue collar factory jobs that are going away or the truck drivers. It's now anything that can be automated will be automated. And this isn't a political statement. This is a fact from sitting in boardrooms. When you raise minimum wage, we can debate whether that's good or bad, but I tell you what it does do. It changes the math so the companies will automate quicker and get rid of jobs. In the 1980s, I went to McDonald's. I noticed that their cash registers didn't have numbers on them. They had a picture of little shake, medium shake, big shake. Basically, the average literacy of a McDonald's employee was less than the average literacy of a McDonald's customer. So I said, why don't you just put in touchscreen kiosks? Let people order their own stuff, get it right. You need less employees at the front to save money. And they're like, nah, you want to go into McDonald's now? Mm-hmm. They're doing what I said 30 years ago. So, you can't control timing of people getting it, but everything's going to be automated. But the flip side of that is what changes create new opportunities? What tools can solve a problem that you've identified that nobody else knew? And so my best example in future-proofing you to get people in the mindset, because I have a whole chapter on $1 trillion opportunity. That's with $1 trillion opportunity that no one has a head start on right now. The big guys are spending billions to do the infrastructure and the hardware pieces, but no one's into this. So could you run your business or live your life today without your smartphone?
It'd be hard. It'd be a little difficult. Yeah, right. Exactly.
You spend 5 hours a day on it, right?
Yeah. 100%.
And there's lots of businesses that you interact with that the sole interaction you have with them is through that device, right?
Yeah, man. I get all my cereal from Amazon and automation. What are you talking about? I get boxes of Fruity Pebbles every week automatically. And if I miss it, I go in and press the button on my phone. So yes, I can't even buy my groceries anymore without it.
So let's go back 10 years ago when the iPhone came out. Let me tell you 2 of the top 10 apps that first year. There was a fart app.
Right.
And there was a game with cats. So that's another way of saying that millions of entrepreneurs hadn't seen that making an app-based business could make them great wealth, right?
Right.
But now you know what it does. So starting this Christmas and the next 3 years, there's advice coming out. It's going to basically mean we're never taking our phone out of our pocket again. We're all going to wear glasses that have heads-up display.
Yeah.
And if you don't think you'll buy glasses for an app, you already do. You want to go to the beach, you buy a pair of glasses that has one app called Sun. You want to read a book after you're over 40, you buy glasses that have, an app called Focus. So if you can get glasses that translate anything you hear or see into a language you can comprehend, that you could walk into a supermarket and the doctor tells you you've got diabetes, show me all the products that don't have sugar, or show me all the products that don't have salt, and everything else disappears. You're buying those, okay? And they're going to be about the same price as regular glasses. Now, if you can buy in, and there's not enough time to convince you, but Google's been a client and Facebook and Apple. So the best way to predict the future is hang out with the guys that are coding it. If that is truly going to be the device, if Google doesn't have that search owned in front of your eyes, they're out of business.
Yeah.
If Apple isn't selling you those glasses, they're out of business. If Facebook, you get. So those big guys are thinking about the big $10 billion chunks. They're putting out the 5G networks. Everything's being done, but they're not sitting there solving any problems with an app. So yes, the companies that made money in apps are going to go in to figure out how to do something here. CBS was in radio. What a great new technology. Oh, TV comes in. Should we go out of business? No, we'll adapt to have CBS TV. But there were many things that couldn't be done without these glasses. And you don't need to be an engineer. Every business is a high-tech startup. One of my 12 truths. A restaurant, anything. And I can prove that to you. If I gave you $1 million, if you could go back 10 years ago and buy one stock, but it has to be the most successful tech stock of the past 10 years, what would you buy?
Buy Amazon, probably, or Apple.
Nope.
Who would I buy? Tell me. I don't know, man. I don't invest in the stock market. I invest in my business.
The bottom line is it's a trick question, because I said every business is a tech business. The number one thing you should have bought was Domino's Pizza. Domino's went to being app-based. The majority of their employees work in IT. They now have a direct communication with their customers, direct for taking orders. They can test, market new things. They get data instantly. The only competitive advantage you can have in your business or any other business in the 21st century is getting insight from your customers faster than your competition.
Oh, wow. That's great. That's amazing.
So that changed their whole course.
Yeah.
The making pizza part is the easy part. I'm going to open a restaurant. I got a great, barbecue recipe. That's not why restaurants succeed or fail. Obviously, if the food is poison, you're not going to succeed no matter what. Right. But in Disrupt You, I tell the story of a guy who wanted to start a restaurant, and restaurants have the highest failure rate. So he says, I want to, reduce my chances of failure. So the first thing he realized is if you have too many menu items, nobody ordered, the zucchini this week, there's your profit. So he's going to open a restaurant with only 3 items on the menu. So there'd be no waste.
Yeah.
Number 2, humans are kind of weird. We all want to eat at the same time, lunch and dinner. So if you sit at a table that could seat 4, only 2 people, you can't monetize those other 2 seats. That's money going out the window. So he said, okay, I'm only going to seat full tables. You're going to have to sit with strangers. And since you got to wait for the full table, you're going to wait at the bar, and bar tab has the highest margins. So now this is the craziest bunch of rules. So now all they have to do, what type of food would get people to put up with those rules? And for half a century, Benihana's has been making a fortune.
Yeah.
He didn't say we're going to do a Japanese teppanyaki house. He's like, how do I solve for why restaurants fail? So you can do this for every business. You're one click away from 7 billion customers. It only takes a nanosecond to make $1 million or change the world.
That's right, man. It's amazing stuff, man. Hey, listen, man, I love you. The first book, awesome stuff. And I cannot wait to get my copy of Future Proofing You. But tell everybody a little bit more about where they can connect with you online, and
Sure.
And also where they can get a copy of the new book. Because it's out today, baby. It's out. It's ready to rock.
It's out. If you didn't get sick of my voice, the audio version's out. I narrated 9 hours and 9 minutes. There's the Kindle version. There's the print version. You can get it on Amazon, wherever you get your books. If you want the free workbooks to get the most out of the experience, go to jaysamit.com, JAYSAMIT.com, and I'll happily send them to you. You can find me on LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, everywhere that you need to be in the 21st century. And I love to hear from readers, but this is about helping you to achieve what you want and to get you in that mindset, which is the biggest battle, so that you can believe, because what you believe you'll achieve.
Awesome, man. Listen, Jay, hey, man, your experience is so crazy. Like, people got to go just read everything you've done. We didn't have time to cover it all. I'll try to get as much of it in the intro as possible. But I really just want to thank you for sharing your wisdom, man. A lot of people ride off into the sunset with all this, amazing experience and amazing relationships and things like that. But you presenting this stuff to the world, man, and providing some mentorship for people who really need it is a huge service to entrepreneurs out there, man. So appreciate you, and thank you for being on the podcast today, too.
Be well.
All right, guys, that wraps up my interview with best-selling author Jay Samit. Make sure you check out his amazing book, Disrupt You. It is a ridiculously quotable book, and it is an amazing read. And also check out his new book, Future Proofing You, Creating Opportunity, Maximizing Wealth, and controlling your destiny. You can check that out on Amazon or anywhere that you order books. And if we can help you in any way in your online business, we would love to do that. Head over to membershipmasters.com. We've got a ton of great courses and resources to help you start, build, and grow a membership site of your own. The biggest trend in online business right now, guys, is recurring revenue. Adding a membership to whatever it is you're selling. We've helped thousands of people start, build, scale, and grow memberships, and we'd love to help you too. That's membershipmasters.com. Check it out. We'll see you there. And I'll see you on the next episode of the Membership Masters podcast. Until then, be consistent, be prolific, be relentless, and do whatever it takes to flip your life and change your family's future. We'll see you then.